One.
Good morning. So proud to be, I'm seeing today this event of Moshiach. I'm very excited because the only way that we can bring Moshiach is with high energy. You know, this is a fight. I love fighting. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but you know, Krav Maga, it's one of my favorite pastimes. And the only way you can win a fight is with high energy, you know, when you bring all into it. So how do we do that with Mashiach? I like to bring Mashiach into everything we do. You know, this was my early years of Shlichus. I got a wake-up call one day when I don't know, I was a little out of it. And I finished my drasha without saying, we daven for Moshiach to build the Beis Hamikdash and go to get Yerushalayim. I always do that. One day I was up and I didn't even realize. Somebody tells me, hey, Rabbi, you forgot to mention Moshiach. So people are expecting that from us. We have to. So I started recently between Mincha and Ma'ariv every day to give a very short word about Moshiach. I usually get from the Dvar Malchus about the Chumash of the day. So today it's very easy to find the connection. You can look in, and after the Rashi of every day on the Chitas, there is parts of a Sikha. Today it says that the Choishem is Gematria, Nochosh and Moshiach. And says Nochosh represents the body and Moshiach represents the soul. And our avoida is to change to that the body should not be what in time of Golus is dominating, but to wrestle, to bring Moshiach, to bring the Neshomesh into the winning part. So I do that every single day with people and they love it. It's short, it's quick, and we have to do that. Another way that we're bringing Moshiach into our shlichus, my wife came up with this idea, Shalach Mones. Obviously, people do Purim here, the other. We packed Shalach Mones to go to with Moshiach. It's a suitcase with luggage tags with the name of the people. It's full of goodies, but has the handles, and we're ready to travel to Yerushalayim. She made this design of the name tags, and the whole Inyan is the party is at fly to Yerushalayim. There is a little poem that my children wrote. I can share it later if people want. There is like a boarding pass. All our shlichus, everything has to be with Mashiach, but also it's very important, in my humble opinion, to have very high energy and to be excited when we say Mashiach. When I daven and I often I'm chazen and what do we stress? What are the parts of the davening that I really yell out? You can ask Rabbi Rubenfeld. He sometimes has to listen to my davening. That's what I yell. And I want my people in my community to know that this is what our chayus is. So without taking more of your time, I'd like to introduce Rabbi Dov Yonah Korn, Chabad of NYU, to bring a very high energy talk about Mashiach. Thank you.
A pleasure. L'chaim, Rabbi L'chaim. What an incredible group. Shukriach for putting this together. Mr. Hashem, I'll join it after today's. Oh, it's amazing. Now that you've stroked my ego, now I can join. So I'm going to share with you a little bit about. I don't know how much of this is helpful for you. I don't know how much of it's applicable. I can just tell you our story. That for me, I think the most effective way that we try to bring the Geula here in our Chabad house is that the entire narrative of our Chabad house is about the Judaism of the future. I think it's probably because that's the only reason why I became from Buklau. I would not become from for the Judaism of yesterday. I don't have a sheikhs to it. I don't have babas and zaydas that were Isaac and mitzvahs. God should bless them abundantly, regardless. But I came after Gimel Thomas. I became from. I heard the Rebbe's message. I heard the Rebbe's revolution and in ideas of where Judaism is going, where the world is going, what we're doing here. That's the only thing that could get a person who's as crazy as I am to go and follow all these laws and all these halachas and run a Chabad house and deal with all the headaches, is because this is about where Judaism's going. And so in our framing of how we discuss this with our students, everything is about, I'm not saying every person that comes here recognizes it, I'm not saying everybody gets it, but very much we are talking about, we are the Jews of the future is going to be redemption, and we have to position ourselves to be those, the carriers of that light. And we find that the kids really respond to it. It's literally, it's not like a little message on the side, it's how we frame our conversations. How we frame, how are we supposed to be religious today? I know you guys, everybody's struggling with this and that. I'm telling my students, I know what you're struggling with. I know that, but if we're going to just be Jews of yesterday, it's not going to work. But if we're going to be Jews of the future, if we're going to position ourselves to literally help educate humanity about where humanity is supposed to be going, then this we can do. And it really turns them on. It really excites them.
Combien là ici? Là, il y en a 4. Et là, je vais compter.
The Mashal this week we had a this week we had a
the organizer can mute everyone else who's not.
This week we were bringing about what the Rebbe says about Mordechai Yeshem B'Shar Melech. How could it be Mordechai is just a few years becomes an important part of the political system in Bavel? And the answer is he saw an opportunity to lead and to have influence. And how could he not take advantage of an opportunity to have influence? We were discussing this, that how all my students, how the influence you have today to help educate the world, not just about being good people, of course, but in context of the fact the world is going somewhere. There is a destination. Judaism is about a destination. And we educate them like that. We try to, from the get-go. What's Judaism about? It's a destination, getting the world to its destination. How do we do that? We are soldiers. How do we train? With Torah and mitzvahs. And then we go out and we help the world get to its destination. And that is what Judaism was always supposed to be. We always talk about this. This is the Judaism that Judaism always wished it could be. But 100 years ago, 20 years ago, Judaism couldn't be that as much. We're still fighting the past. And everybody today still has PTSD from the Judaism of the past. But these kids have to get excited about a different kind of Judaism, the Jew of the future, the phrase we use a lot, the Jew of the future. It's like sometimes I write some Torahs under that phrase. And so I think that it's for me, I can only bring with you about what I do, and there's many, many, many more things I could be doing. But this framing of, again, I think it's because my wife and I are both a little bit like, I'm a rebel. I'm not a good rule follower. We didn't come from for that reason, but we became from because the Rebbe said, this is our time. This is our time to bring Moshiach. This is our time to finally close the game. I talk about that a lot, closing the game. You have a sports game, you have a baseball game, and the game goes and all these beautiful, amazing, healthy, fit athletes are playing the game. Finally, they bring out a fat guy to close the game. He's got a few incredible pitches, and these pitches no one else can do. It's not pretty to watch him, to be honest. He's like, he can't run around the bases so well, but he's got that pitch that only he can do, and he closes the game. And I said, that's us. Yeah, Lagabe, the previous generations, we're not pretty to look at. It's not pretty to watch us in our Veda. It's not pretty to smell our purity. But we have that pitch that only we can do to close the game. And we're the closers. And so we learn a lot here. We try to learn a lot Basi Lagani because the Rebbe is positioning us from the get-go, saying this is the generation of closers. And now we're the closers, Shema closers after Gimel Tammuz. And so I think that what this does, is it frames Torah and mitzvahs in a different kind of way. All of a sudden it goes from being a headache, oh my God, to put on tefillin, to it's a revolution. You want to be a rebel? You want to rebel against something? Tefillin is a rebellion against mediocrity. It's a rebellion against boring Judaism. We have to rebel against the mediocrity of human existence. And so that's what Yiddishkeit is always supposed to be. That's what citizens, that's what Rebbe is finally inviting us to do. So that's number one, is just the way we frame it. Number two is that we very much put ourselves in the same playing field with the students. Like we're all in this together. I don't know if this is something that maybe is easier for me to do because I'm about Baal Tshuva, but I say, look, I'm just a Shlomo, you're a Shlomo, we're all in this together, and we've been given the most important job in the world. It's not like the rabbi and the rabbis, even though Baruch Shem, obviously there's a mechitza between us and our mushpayim, but it's very much, I'm imperfect. You're imperfect. I'm the fat guy playing the last pitch. You're the fat guy playing the last pitch. We're all a very confusing, imperfect generation, but we have the exact pitch that's needed to close the game. We have the exact tools, the exact flavor that the Eibishter needs to actually finish off the work of the tzimtzum, to finish off the creation. That's it. We're undoing the tzimtzum. We're closing it up. That's our job. And so when the kids hear this, I think it's a good position for them because it also empowers them. We have many, like almost everything we do is led by the student leaders. It's not just led by the shluchim. So we have boards and boards and boards, 30 kids on this board and 20 kids on this board and 10 on this board, and they're leading the communities. And so it's very much, and we give them a lot of space to lead and a lot of achrayus and a lot of training and inspiration about what it means to lead. And so I think that's also very powerful. They feel that they feel empowered because the emes is that's what the Rebbe did. The Rebbe empowered someone like me. It's I used to say that when in Shemayim they're looking down at me and they're saying, "Who's this schmuck corn?" We said Korf. But I say to myself like that, who put this guy in charge? And so it's true is that we're all in this together, and just like we can step up and lead, my wife and I are always saying to them, you can step up and lead, and we'll do it in different ways. But it really has been very effective. They build kids building their own mini Chabad houses within our Chabad house, mini programs. It's very exciting. In fact, there's a new social media platform called the Clubhouse that you may have heard of, which is like it's only by invite. It's very small, but it's where a lot of entrepreneurs are sharing ideas. And I got a beautiful message from from another shliach, Yisrael Bernath, who was on that, and he was hearing one of our boys talking about teaching Hasidus to a whole group of less affiliated people. And he couldn't believe this is like a young professional who's a tech guy, but he's teaching about really rich ideas. I think that gives me a tremendous amount of nachas because we're trying to empower these kids to be shluchim themselves. I think that there's definitely that we are in now a time where the next wave is not so much another wave of shluchim because we've almost dominated the whole world. It's another wave that the mushpoyim of the shluchim themselves become shluchim, and that's very much the messaging that we share here. And the last thing I'll say, because I know I'm only supposed to speak for 10 minutes, is that the third thing that I think that we're trying to do, or that we have had some success at, is trying to make sure that we're training each one of them themselves personally. So we use something like Salesforce, and there's a lot of contact relationship managers to be able to see if each person is progressing along a track of spiritual growth. If it's someone who's not religious, someone is religious, there's different ways to do it. And we're just getting our feet wet at it. But thank God we have a lot of volume. We have a lot of people coming through our doors. And so one of the dreams I'm trying to implement is to be able to make sure that each person that comes through, we can check off, okay, we learned Chassidus with them. We had a one-on-one with them about their relationship with God. We took them to the Oihel. We asked them if they want to be a leader. And we can make sure that all the hundreds of kids that come to a big party, we're slowly taking our spiritual staff to help each of them evolve along a track of being trained to be Jews of the future. So Bekitzer, to summarize, the three things that I've had success with, one is a messaging that's very sharp. We're kind of like provocative in our messaging, like about God and about how God is electing us to be the Jews of the future to finish off the game. It's very prominent in our messaging. So that's number one. Number two is to empower them that they should feel that just like we're leading, it's expected of them to lead and that we're all in this together. Number two, and number three is using technology where possible to make sure that we can help each individual have the right spiritual staff and training to help them evolve along their path to becoming what I call an operative of the future, or a Jew of the future, or a soldier of the future. And by the way, it's not just like, we don't just speak about it in humanistic terms. We're not just saying, oh, because the world is changing, which it is, and needs leadership, which it does. But we're very forward about God and miracles and most importantly, that Gullus is not normal. And the question isn't how can Gula come. The question is how is the Eibishter hiding himself so well, Rahman al-Islan. And so therefore we should go back to the state of the way things truly should be with his Galus of Atmus Mahuz Baruchu, Begili Rav Atzum, B'Tayv Nir V'Nidla, B'Simchav Tuv Levav.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Dov Yonah Korn. Beautiful energy, empowering message. And now we have a first. We have a message from Rabbi Mendel Kaplan, Chabad of Flamingo, Thornhill, Ontario, a video message.
Meine teure Chavere, my dear brothers, it's an honor to participate in your call. I don't know, B'mez Zochisi, I have the privilege of participating in what's for me a cross-country kind of Zoom hookup. And I certainly don't think that I have anything more to say about the subject than anybody else, except that maybe I could share a little bit of a humbling experience, which inspired me, and maybe it'll inspire you also. I should say that the truth is I'm really jealous of you guys. It's a beautiful thing that you come together and that there's an Achdus amongst you and you're talking about Moshiach. We're Chassidim of the Rebbe. Our job is to devote ourselves to what the Rebbe wanted. And the Rebbe wanted we should learn about Inyan Gula Mashiach. The Rebbe wanted we should teach people about Inyan Gula Mashiach. I really don't think, in fact I'm quite sure, that means we should read into current events and tell people how and why a certain Mashiach is coming in an hour. I don't think that the Rebbe's expectation of us was to play prophet and to try to necessarily interpret the events unfolding on the political landscape or what's going on in the world, be it a pandemic or economic difficulty, v'chuli. The Rebbe was very clear. Mizal Pashat, lernen in Yonei Gula Mashiach. We should learn about it. And as the Rebbe said, it's the derech hayashar. It's the straightforward way. I mean, l'cha'era, this is what Chassidus Chabad is all about. That in order to engender and nurture midas, a healthy emotional attitude, it comes through learning Torah. It comes through Yigiyas HaMeichen. And when there's Yigiyas HaMeach, and when we work hard at understanding an idea, and developing an idea, and appreciating an idea, and internalizing an idea, and allowing it to filter through into our das, so that it becomes an actual bias, a predisposition, the way we tend to look at things, and that's what engages and develops balanced midas, a healthy emotional attachment. So we're supposed to be excited about Mashiach. We're supposed to yearn for the coming of Mashiach. We're supposed to anticipate the coming of Mashiach. As the Rambam famously wrote, that Misha Eine Maimen, somebody doesn't believe in Mashiach, or he doesn't await his coming. How are you supposed to await Mashiach's coming if you don't know what Mashiach is? If it's some nebulous concept that's beyond the orbit of your worldview. So by learning at these inyanim, especially in the Rebbe's Sichos and the Rebbe's Memorim, we're able to elevate our perspective. And when we share that elevated perspective with others, it creates the proper yearning, the desire, the hope for Bias HaMashiach. So some of you might remember at the last Kinnis HaShluchim that was held in person, I had the privilege of speaking at the opening lunch. And it was a strange call or order for me, because we all have our, inyanim that we really kind of kachsachin, and the things that we focus on. And I didn't kachsach or focus on Inyan Gula Mashiach more than anybody else. I don't feel that I really had a contribution to make in this area, that it's something to share with other shluchim. I mean, whatever. The Rebbe says to learn Inyan Gula Mashiach. I tried to learn Inyan Gula Mashiach. Once a week I was teaching, but I really didn't feel that I had anything special to contribute or to articulate. And I was talking to one of the members of the VAD who asked me, and he gave me the kernel of an idea. I think it was Rabbi Yassilu from Atlanta. He said to me, how did you start bringing people to the Rebbe? Which is a thing that I did do kochsach, and so like, what, you're going to bring people to the oil? And the more I thought about it, it's not an option. Unser Inyan is to bring Yidden zum Rebbe. That's what we're about. So how do you do it? You figure it out. The Rebbe said, We have to learn in Yanigul Mashiach. Figure it out. Figure it out. We have to figure it out. We have to make it happen. The Rebbe gave us a job, and we are not ben chayden chas v'shalom lehibatal mamenu. It's not really an option. That was kind of the gist of what I spoke about. The Hashgacha Pratis, a few days later, I meet a younger man. I was on the way out of the mikveh. And he says to me that he heard about your speech you gave us. All right. I mean, he's a younger man from Crown Heights. And he says to me, I heard you talked about 70 years and then 70 days from the Chedesh Kislev. So he says to me, how about you make a video every day? Are you kidding? Like, I know about little making videos. It's a very, very time-consuming thing. It's a difficult thing. And everybody complains that my classes are too long. And I told him, he says, no, it's short. I said, that's even more difficult. I told him there's a famous adage, there was a famous British Prime Minister, his name is Winston Churchill, who once said that to prepare to speak for 5 minutes, for an hour I need 5 minutes, and to speak for 5 minutes I need an hour of preparation. Anyway, I still can't tell you why I was agreeable or kind of took the plunge, but I did, and Baruch Hashem for it. And I pumped out those videos. It was a very challenging thing to do. It was challenging on a good day in the midst of all this. Baruch Hashem, my son got engaged and we're traveling, but Baruch Hashem, if I missed a day, I made up for it afterwards. And Mamash, till Yud Shvat, Baruch Hashem, I managed to pump him out. Mamash, keiches from another place. It didn't add up. I can't even tell you how it happened, but it did happen. Now during these days that I had to make this video, like I was always preparing for the next video. I was giving my regular classes, but you're always looking and if they find new information. Like one of the things that I kind of challenge myself with is if I'm gonna share something, I can't just say mumbo jumbo. I have to actually say something meaningful, give a meaningful piece of information that everyone wants us to know how things will be, that everyone wants us to appreciate and a deeper insight. How am I doing this? So you have to really work hard. You have to go back to Mana Mekemis and you have to go through the Chazals and go through the Rishonim and see how the Rebbe reframes things. And I didn't have a choice. I had to pump that video out. I had no choice. So I put a lot of work into it. And invariably, I didn't have time for anything else. And I mean, truth be told, what happens when you do things that you don't have time for, so something else suffers. It's not possible otherwise. Something's going to give somewhere. And things did give. I made certain sacrifices that I made. But the reality was, I couldn't prepare for certain other things, so I had to revert back to these things. So whether it was on the radio, whether it was in a shiva house, whether it was when I would meet somebody, this is what I had to share. that was the cash and carry content that I had with me. And an amazing thing happened. Not once, not twice, not 3 times. People, they were loving it. And I was like, what? Why are they so excited? I remember one specific little event. It was a shiva house, a person who very rarely comes around. And Nebuch, his mother passed away, so he wanted to have a minyan in his house. This was before the COVID days, last year, somewhere in Kislev. And I was in his house, and I didn't have a chance to prepare a Mishnah, so I used to try to prepare a Mishnah, Pirkei Avos. All I had in my head was these Inyan Kol Mashiach. So I said that we know that when Mashiach will come, and there's going to be Tchias HaMesim. So let's talk about the future. This is before the despondent days of COVID. This is like things were still what you call normal. And so let's talk about it. And I shared a few insights, some kind of a teaching about Mashiach. And a man who I never met came over to me after. He said, that was so inspiring, he said. It was so uplifting to hear about the optimism of the future and what we're looking forward to. And this is really what I want to share with all of you. It humbled me and it taught me such an important lesson. Folg was the Rebbe sagt, and everything falls into place. Our job is to uplift Yidden. The Rebbe said about himself, Halei kol inyani is aufzuheben. My whole thing is to lift up. If that was the Rebbe's inyan, that's our inyan. Our mission is to be bedugma shel maila. We should be, every shliach should be a tiny shtick Rebbe, should reflect the Rebbe to people. The Rebbe gewollt aufheben Yidden. Now, the Rebbe famously told my great uncle, Uncle Hecht, and he said, Rebbe, ist mir rausgeschleppt. You pulled me out. The Rebbe said, rausgeschleppt, aufgeheben. The Rebbe's inyan is aufheben Yidden. What can uplift people more than the vision of tomorrow? You would think, at least, as Chatoya Animasker, I'm ashamed to tell you, I thought it wouldn't be relevant to people. I thought it would sound like some kind of fantastical thing that doesn't resonate. But it did. And it does resonate. And the world is hungry. They're hungry for a message of optimism, not fake hope. Don't peddle false optimism. Don't tell people that COVID means Mashiach's coming. The Rebbe said, Punkt verkehrt, in that famous place, the Rebbe speaks about Mashiach coming out of goodness, not out of suffering, not out of deprivation, and not out of difficulty. Out of goodness, out of happiness, out of satisfaction, out of fulfillment, in Golus. The Rebbe once spoke about the whole Yin of Achashverosh, the Tokvei shel Nes, not Tokvei shel Nes, and not Tokvei shel Haman, and not Tokvei shel Mordechai. The halacha is like Reb Meir, Tokvei shel Achashverosh. The Rebbe said the only toikef which doesn't wax or wane, doesn't change, is Tokvei shel Achashverosh. And that's the point. In the middle of Tokvei shel Achashverosh, Afal Pikein is given Nisim v'neflois. The emes is that we all see Nisim v'neflois. The Rebbe Shlichus is off the charts. The Hatzlacha that we have has nothing to do with us. We have to work hard and be mishtadel, kemetiv kechesenu. It's reinlegen, it's to throw yourself in and work yourself to the bone. But the Hatzlacha is, of your gaita comes umatzasa, comes umayla. And the Rebbe does what the Rebbe has to do. And we have the schus to be the extended hands, the arms, the vehicle through which the Rebbe hebt of the Welt. And we do that by Pashat Folgen. Simply to follow orders and do what the Rebbe told us to do. There's a famous minor, which they say is California related, that if you're not going to learn 3 Prakim Rambam, is Kumahem. And the Rebbe answered to somebody else who said that he can't do his shlichus and Rambam, that Rambam is part of the shlichus. And I was thinking about that. Why is Rambam part of the shlichus? Shlichus is Afotzas Hayadus, Afotzas Mayonis. Rambam, Limud Rambam is I'm learning Rambam. In L'cha'era, the reason is simple. In order for us to do our shlichus, we have to be ibrigim to the Rebbe. And the Rebbe has to be able to work through us. When we're in a state of bittul to the Rebbe, so then the Rebbe could effectuate as he wishes to and as he must and as he will. If you learn Rambam, if you learn Shleisha Prakim, so heißt das, megit sich zum Rebbe, ki you do it, that the Rebbe crossed out the word lehishtadel, wrote Lil mit Gimel Prakim, and the Rebbe said that it's negay in the Bias HaMashiach, learning Rambam. So if you learn Rambam, and if you do what the Rebbe wants, and if you koch sich in Yonei Gula Mashiach, the Rebbe doch gesagt. So if the Rebbe said, that's it, Kein Tziva HaMelech. If we do what the Rebbe told us to do, so then the Rebbe is able to do what has to be done through us. And that's what this is really all about. Our shlichus is lahavi l'meis HaMashiach, l'kabel pnei Mashiach, doing what the Rebbe told us to do with bittul and Kabbalah sale. And the more we will learn ourselves about Inyan Gula Mashiach, and the more we are saturated with an awareness of what says in Torah. The things we don't know, but as long as we're saturated, and our minds and our hearts are saturated with Inyan Gula Mashiach, to the point that we're tefeach, amanas latfiach, that saturation reaches its fullness, so that it also impacts others. This, meine Torah Brider, is the derech hayosher that will lead us on the path that's Eila Beis Hashem, and we should be Zeicher Mertz Hashem, that as we're in a month of miracles, and Mazoli, the Mazel of Adar, which is Bari, and from there we go into the month of Nisan, Yud Aleph Nisan, and Pesach, that we should be zeicha, Emirtz Hashem, that through Avedasenu, in these last difficult days of Meshchus Managolos, like it says in Tanya, that we should zeicha to the Giluyim of La'asad Lavei, Zazach Zemet and Ebn Emirtz Hashem, and Beis HaMikdash HaShlishi, B'mheira u'biyameinu, Amen. Thank you, Rabbi Brisky, for reaching out. Thank you, my dear friends, my brothers, for the opportunity. And I look forward to meeting you all soon in Yerushalayim. Seid gesund, Kol Tov.
Thank you all for being part of this. Just want to finish with incorporating the idea of uplifting that Rabbi Kaplan mentioned. When people ask me, how are you? I always answer, I'm happy. And sometimes people are, hey, what are you happy about? How can we not be happy? Moshiach is coming. We live in such a special time that our mitzvahs can bring Moshiach. And sometimes it's a whole conversation, sometimes but everybody, when you say I'm happy, people laugh. People, you uplift them. And if people ask me, what are you doing? I usually answer, I'm doing all I can to bring Moshiach. Now, was I really doing that? I don't know. But I feel that after saying that, it's like a commitment. Okay, now I said it, I have to do something. So I invite all of you to always, when you interact with people, even just how you're doing, I'm happy, Moshiach is coming, share something positive, high energy, make commitments to do all we can to bring Moshiach. This is beautiful. Thank you, Rabbi Rubenfeld, for bringing me into this Minatzchim. We are the ones that are victorious, bringing Moshiach now. Thank you all for being part of this. Shkoyach.